Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nebraids, and in today's video, I am doing this on the test server, by the way. I'm gonna give you a full guide to Donatello and how to build him. Most importantly, he is the most recent fusion. It's a fragment event. I'm doing it on the test server because I don't have mine yet. I have the 100 fragments, but I'm waiting for a champion chase tournament or a CVC, or basically somewhere to pull him and double dip, get some points for another event and make the next fusion or whatever easier, which I recommend you to do as well if you can wait. If you're too impatient, well, hey, here we are. If you pulled him already or you get him from a shard or something, here we are. Let's cover Donatello. This will be a companion piece, by the way, infographic. We'll come back to that in a second. I do have a full champion spotlight written for hellhades.com. It came out 2 or 3 days ago. But yeah, this will break down like an overview of his skills, what sort of teams to use him in, where he's good at, and of course then a detailed breakdown of all of this stuff. So his gear sets, why they're good, his blessings and relics, why they're good, etc. And obviously I'll be covering a chunk of it in this video, but I'm not going to be reading off of this. So the two pieces, this video and the spotlight, as they always do, exist sort of, they cover some of the same stuff, but there's also unique stuff to both. So hopefully there's good value to you in reading, and yeah, both of them, whatever. Slight update as well in the video, and I'll try to get it into the written guide maybe tomorrow or the next day, whenever it's live in the game, but I'll just let you guys know right now because I'm recording this before it's live in the game. Chronophage is being buffed. So before I was like, it's kind of decent on him. It's definitely worth mentioning. Now, Chronophage is a really interesting option for Donatello. That's definitely going to change how we build him. But yeah, look, let's dive in. Let's talk about it. Oh, also worth mentioning, you might be intimidated by the build here. This is obviously my end game build, but I'll explain just how to build him in general, right? So what's Donatello got going on? He's a really generally useful support. He just has a lot of stuff in his kit that's basically really good everywhere in the game. He's just a generalist, right? He's super good. His A1, small bit of a heal to your team and activating continuous heals. That's not super useful, though he does bring a continuous heal for 2 turns on his A3. This is like on his own. This is a really small amount of healing. It's kind of negligible. You can kind of ignore it. Doesn't really matter. When you combine him with other turtles, it really drastically potentially multiplies the amount of times he'll use this move in a fight, which will hugely boost his healing. So the more turtles you have, whenever any of them attack with any attacking move, all of them will join in. It's a pretty good idea to have Donatello near the top of your team order when you do that, by the way, because he's not going to hit very hard, and you want him to get in and actually heal up your team every single time that happens. If you put him at the back of the team, if you let someone who hits very hard, let's say Raphael hits very hard, if you put him in front of Donatello, there's a decent chance Raphael might kill the enemy, and then Donatello won't actually get to attack, and then he won't get to heal your team. So yeah, but you can kind of tweak your turtle positions to make the most of it. But the more turtles you have in your team, the more they're all bringing each other into attack, and it really sort of escalates very quickly. But it's very good. So yeah, this A1 is potentially actually a load of healing thanks to his passive. Without the passive, it's not particularly good. His A2 Shell Shocker, 4-turn cooldown, AoE attack, which is nice. He's not going to do much damage, but the attack itself can trigger a mastery, which we'll come to in a sec. And of course, it can bring in the turtles to attack, which is great. Increased speed on everyone for 2 turns. Phenomenally, just generally useful. Speed is the best stat in the entire game. Increasing it's really good. And decreasing all of your skills for your allies, except himself, by 2 turns. Phenomenal. That is kind of game-changing for a lot of different team compositions. You cannot decrease the cooldown of this skill with other cooldown decreasing effects. So like another Donatello couldn't reduce this one. Like a Yumiko, Prince Kaimar, Renegade, Rare Champion, whatever. Gear sets as well cannot reduce the cooldown of this move. So it's very much locked to the 4-turn cooldown. And you can actually play around that a little bit. There's some interesting stuff you can do. And Secret of the Use is A3, full cleanse, continuous heal strengthen, and a 20% turn meter boost. Phenomenal. And then his passive can save someone from death. The interesting thing about this, if we compare this to Freya, who was an event champion last year, Freya's got a similar passive where she will save someone from death. But it only works on the ally with the highest crit damage, whereas Donatello can save anyone, which is probably generally more useful. She will give them an instant turn, which is ridiculously strong. He cannot do that, but he will give them a much bigger heal. So Donatello protects anybody, and he's going to protect them better than Freya will, because he's going to bring them up to the average HP level of the team, which hopefully will be good. So he's better at keeping people alive, but he doesn't have the instant turn effect. So Freya, not quite as good at keeping them alive with her passive specifically, but her passive is sort of better at enabling a damage dealer than Donatello's. But it's an amazing passive for both champions, either which way. HP aura, generally great. You prefer speed for arena, and yeah, but HP is kind of second best for progressing through the game, just for safety. You obviously prefer like attack if you don't need the speed and you just want to clear stuff faster, etc. But HP in all battles, it's a solid aura. You will use it a good bit. Couple of interesting. Well, maybe we'll talk about it when we come to gearing. Let's do it. Let's go to gearing first. Let's talk about that, and yeah, see how, because there's a couple of very interesting decisions that you can make in terms of the direction you're going because of his base stats and the way that cooldowns on these moves work. So let's look at it first of all. So key stats, very simple, guys. Speed number 1, HP percent number 2. Then there's actually a really big gulf between 3 and 4. Defense percent and resistance. It's really mostly about speed and HP, yeah? HP, he's going to heal more, which is really good. And also his damage scales off HP. Doesn't matter. The continuous heal will heal him more. Speed, the more turns he takes, the more often he brings in turtles to attack, the more often he reduces your cooldowns, the quicker he can get to cleansing you and turn meter boosting you and healing you and everything. So we just want speed and HP. Defense is okay, but it's a third place, right? But defense, because he's going to have really high HP, defense is going to make him tankier, particularly against bosses and stuff like that. In any arena content, typically, you're trying to gear your champions with, bad example, he doesn't have any gear on, with as much ignore defense as possible, and you're giving them the masteries to ignore defense and whatever. So defense is not as good for arena, just in general, for everybody, because so many champions just ignore it substantially, if not entirely, some of them. So yeah, that's one thing with him, but defense is still good. There's no harm in building it. And definitely want at least some defense in there. You don't want to build him with like 0. That would be very hard to build him with 0, especially with your rings. But don't build him with absolutely 0. But you can see here, I've got a good gear set. He's got a defense ring. Not as good as the HP ring, but it's fine. It's got HP percent, defense percent, and it's in the set. That is ideal, so that's great. We'll go for it. With his speed, you can go, I think, 2 broad ways with the speed. You say, nope, speed is number 1. Do I just build absolute max possible? How much speed do I give up for HP percent? Depends where you are. So he has 108 base speed. So if you are a brand new player, and let's say you're using an apothecary as your main booster, he's 106. He's actually not bad. But let's say you've got Haikatoon, maybe. She's slower. Haikatoon, this is a +4 one, but she's 104 base speed, yeah? So she just simply does not have as much speed as Donatello. So when you have gear sets, when you have auras or whatever, multiplying their speed, stuff that scales off their speed, like pinpoint set, right? 10% speed, 10% of 108 is more than 10% of 104. So you get more. Donatello has very high base speed at 108, so he can be a decent turn meter booster. Haikatoon, for instance, has a 15% turn meter fill. Donatello has a 20%. So he certainly can be. It's not his best spot, but if you are a newer player, it certainly could be something to consider. If we look at, for example, Arbiter would be a better choice to give your fastest gear. She's got 110 base speed. She's faster. And she has a 30% turn meter fill. That's better than 20%. So she's much better to be your fastest champion. Donatello, I think he excels a bit more as very high speed, but not your absolute fastest. If you build him for more of a go second situation, so you're not planning to go first at all, you can sacrifice the speed even a little bit more, but I'd still be building him pretty fast either which way. And your goal would be that he would be fast enough that, let's say, the enemy goes, that he could then cut in, remove any debuffs they've placed, and turn meter boost your team, get you good to go before their damage dealers actually get a turn, or that he'd reset your skills, which is, again, something we'll talk about when we come to the gear sets now in a second. So, yeah, speed and HP percent, get loads of each of them. There we are. Now, the best sets for Donatello, this is really interesting. So, Protection and now Chronophage is a very spicy one. It's not buffed in game, or I think even on the test server, but it is coming. Then Relentless is particularly good. Reflex and Impulse have some interesting stuff going on. So let's take a look at each of those. So Protection, this is overall generally his best set, particularly at 9 pieces. At 9 pieces, you do 5% more damage for each buff placed by the wearer. He's giving you increased speed, continuous heal, and strength. And he's giving you 3 buffs, so that's a 15% damage boost for your team pretty consistently. So it's really, really good. It also gives him the stats that he wants. Some resistance, which is fine, HP percent and speed. I didn't mention resistance. Resistance, it's worth building if you're trying to build a lot of it. If you're not building enough, then it's not worth it. So typically, like end game bosses, you need 500, 600 resistance to resist anything that they do. And if you got less than that, it's not really doing anything. So resistance is kind of an all or nothing stat. And generally speaking, that means it's a nothing stat for most characters. But you could build a high resistance Donatello. It just would be a little bit of a more niche build, but it's certainly viable. I think the new Chronophage makes it not quite so important. But yeah, protection set, really, really good. It'll also protect his buffs, which is great because some of the more modern bosses, and obviously lots of people in Arena, can remove buffs. So protecting those is kind of nifty, particularly like the strength and continuous heal to keep your team alive. So it's a good set for him. It's probably the best overall. Chronophage is really interesting. Not sure if I have any here on the test server. Probably not, knowing my luck. No, but this has been buffed. Again, the buff is not live, so it doesn't matter. But with a 4-piece of Chronophage, you're going to get 1 stack of whatever the buff is, and that will protect you completely from 1 instance of cooldown increasing effects. So it's not on the current infographic, but it will be added in instead of 6 protection, 2 impulse, which is still fine, obviously. But 4 Chronophage with 4 stone skin, not as high speed build because Chronophage gives you a bit of speed, but stone skin doesn't give you any. You're going to lose some speed. What are you going to gain? With the Chronophage, if let's say someone like Fabian comes in, you'll have actually a double luck because you might just get weak hit and not have your cooldowns increased anyway. Nice. But Fabian tries to increase the cooldowns of your whole team. He's one of the most common enemies in Arena just in general. Donatello stops that cooldown increase from happening because of 4-piece of Chronophage. Then he comes in, takes his turn, and he can decrease the cooldown of all his ally skills. It's kind of a cool way to do it. He's probably not as good as Kymar. Kymar would be better. In fact, Kymar's definitely better. Kymar has a better aura. Kymar has a full reset with a 20% turn meter boost. So Kymar, much better at that job. But Donatello, he is an accessible option that basically, presumably all of you watching, or nearly all of you watching, will have this champion. So it's something to consider, right? If you're struggling for Fabian, against Fabian in Arena, this sort of thing can be an interesting option, perhaps against some siege fights or tag arena, whatever. It can be kind of cool. That's definitely an interesting way to build him. Other stuff, Relentless obviously is amazing, right? Taking extra turns. Remember, you can't reduce the cooldown of this move with cooldown reduction sets, but if you take extra turns, you're getting back to this move even faster, which is really strong. The only downside really of Relentless, number one, a lot of sets, older sets like Relentless have had they've had modern upgraded sets, like Savage being replaced by Lethal and then sort of by Merciless. There's no upgraded version of this set, sadly. I guess 9-piece Merciless, kind of, but not really. But yeah, it's a really, really strong 4-piece set. The extra turns, great. If he's doing more attacks, he's taking more turns, great. He's bringing in more turtles to attack, fantastic. The only real downside of Relentless is in some boss fights, such as Hydra, you can hit a turn limit. So you can only do like 1,000 turns total. And your healer, supporter, getting those extra turns is pretty bad compared to your damage dealer, even though he is sort of a damage dealer because of his passive. But yeah, if you're hitting the turn limit for clan bosses, don't use Relentless. If you're not hitting the turn limit, Relentless is super good. And there's not a crazy amount of champs that need Relentless, whereas like there's so many champs that need protection, so it's a good way to go. Reflex, impulse, cooldown reduction stuff, pretty cool. And again, this brings us to an interesting question. Cooldown reduction will all go into his A3 because it can't go onto his A2. Cool. It'll just let you cast his A3 more often. That's super valuable, especially if you open with his A2. Let's say we open with his A2. Goes on a 4-turn cooldown. His next turn starts. This is now a 3-turn cooldown, and he uses this move. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. They're both on 3-turn cooldowns. They both come off cooldown at the same time. And then if we use his A2 again, this move has been sat there, not used. There's no cooldown reduction happening. It's ready to go, but because we've used his A2, we haven't used his A3, and you're sort of wasting some value there. Whereas if you get some lucky cooldown reduction procs, you might get back to his A3 a little bit faster and actually get more casts in during a fight. Or alternatively, you could just open with his A3, go for the A2 second, and that way, again, you're really going to get a lot of value from the cooldown reduction very consistently, and you're going to get way more casts of his A3, A2 combined, or I'll put it this way, less casts of his A1 over the course of the fight, more casts of his A3. But yeah, there's an interesting decision with Donatello in terms of which of these you prioritize, and it's going to depend on the team and the team setup, and when you need that. Like if you've got increased speed elsewhere, it's not as important to prioritize this. If he's your fastest champion, again, you might prioritize to get your buffs up, use moves of everybody else, and then reset all of their best moves. So yeah, there you go. But it's the very interesting stuff happening with cooldown reduction. And yeah, all that's going on. So cooldown reduction sets are good. Bolster, very good for Arena, so is Stone Skin. Bolster, also very good for Faction Wars and whatnot. It's going to give your whole team a big shield at the start of the fight. And that big shield with the Strengthen buff, going to really help you stay alive and keep you safe and all the rest. So that's very viable build as well, though it is Forge Pass only, so it's a pay-to-win set. Very difficult to get. Stone Skin, very strong for Arena. Yeah. Blessings, Masteries, all the rest. For the Masteries, I'd recommend coming over not to the Spotlight, but to the actual champion page, where, by the way, you can see ratings. How good is he everywhere in the game? What are his damage multipliers? Extra stuff like that. But we've got some Masteries like this. So, for example, I'd be recommending generally for PvE, so for bosses, dungeons, whatever, this sort of build would be the way to go. Basically grabbing him War Master. He's going to be doing so many extra attacks with this passive. It's going to give you a lot of free damage, and especially for a new player, it's going to be massive. So definitely be going to War Master and something like this. Then for, if you want to build him more for Arena, or if you don't care too much about the War Master damage, you'd be building something more like this with the Mastery. So ditching the offense tree, getting over here, timely intervention. So when someone drops low, he gains turn meter. He could potentially heal them and save them. Pretty nice. And then, of course, getting some more counterattacks for even more healing and whatnot. So it depends which of those you want. I'd say this build with War Master is 80 to 90% of people should probably just go for this, because he's better in PvE than he is in Arena, but he is decent in Arena. For his Blessings, several good options. What did I write down over here? Oh, yeah, we've, of course, got Blessings. By the way, there is a toggle on these champ pages where you can look at Arena stuff as well. So yeah, the main ones depends on the star ranking, of course. So for PvE, I'd be saying Cruelty is generally his best one. Again, doubly so because he's doing lots of extra attacks, right? Whenever you hit an enemy, decrease their defense. Great. So you're decreasing the defense of bosses and champions by a lot. Will add up to a lot of extra damage. Big win. If you get him to 6-star, you can run Brimstone. It might work a little bit at 5-star, but the thing is, it needs accuracy. And guess what? We're not building any accuracy. So definitely don't use Brimstone below 5-star. At 5-star, at the plus 75 accuracy, I mean, let's see, hypothetically, mine has 200 accuracy right now. If I gave, that is including the plus 75. So he would land Brimstone on like normal bosses, but nothing hard, nothing Ultra Nightmare apart from Demon Lord, but you wouldn't be landing it against Hydra or most bosses. So yeah, maybe if you have enough accuracy, you could, but not really recommend it. But at 6-star, very strong option. At 6-star, you don't need accuracy to place Brimstone, so it becomes really good. Similarly with Arena, at 6-star, Polymorph doesn't need accuracy, but it does below that. Kind of annoying that it sort of qualifies it clearly here that you need accuracy, but they don't do that for some other blessings. Logic, feels bad. But yeah, at 6-star, Polymorph is good. Below 6-star, no, don't. It won't work, or will barely work. I would say Temporal Chains is really, really strong. Just decrease enemy speeds when they've got buffs, particularly for like a go second team. Slow down their damage dealer so that you can reset your team and they can take a turn, or that you can potentially cut in and take a turn. One thing actually I didn't list in that with the gear sets, anything that's giving him speed and HP. An interesting build as well could potentially be Supersonic for any turn meter booster just in general, but you get turn meter when enemies get buffs, and then you could come in and you could potentially turn meter boost to your team. I personally don't rank Supersonic quite as high for Donatello versus champions like Armans or Fabian, because it'd be pretty bad if, you know, they turn meter boost with some buffs, you cut in, take your turn, and then like their debuffer goes, and suddenly, Donatello took a turn, tried to turn meter boost his team, but their debuffer just put a bunch of debuffs on us, and now we can't remove them. Kind of bad. So Supersonic's interesting, but not necessarily a go-to. What was I saying with Blessings? Temporal Chain's really strong. Life Harvest, actually quite a fun one. Really strong as well. So yeah, you've got some decent options there. You could give him some healing stuff, like with Nourish, make his continuous heals negligibly stronger, but it doesn't really make a difference. Cruelty be a lot better in most circumstances. For your relics, several good options here. Let's actually go to the relic index. You can see probably the one that most people are going to run is the one I just showed you right there. We do have new relics coming in. Perch Shadow is probably the most general one. Again, if you're getting too many turns, not so good, but basically this, chance for an extra turn using your default skill if one active skill is on cooldown. Great, and it's got HP main stat. Brilliant. So yeah, just some extra turns. It's like a mini relentless set. Fantastic. It's just going to help him cycle through his abilities. And the more turns he's taking, the more turtle attacks he brings in. It's really, really strong. What else is good for him? Murderfang, in theory, could be good, but if you've got it, we, of course, have these new... I haven't included these new ones yet, the Forge Pass, but we'll get to them. For him... what did I like? Probably Wand of Submission. I'm trying to remember what I wrote. Oh, yeah. So, of course, the Journal of Necrotis. This is your other super budget one that everyone will have. You might not, of course, if you're a new player, have Perch Shadow. This is only from Faction Wars Hard, so it's hard to get. For a brand new player, the Journal of Necrotis. HP, yes. More heals, more turn meter. Big win. That's two of the things he's always doing. Great. So, yeah, that's your super budget option. Wand of Submission, this is your option for Arena, which is you got a chance to reflect, essentially, crowd control back at enemies, and it's got HP and speed. Brilliant. Hallowed Hilt is also phenomenal. Speed and HP. When you heal an ally with a skill, so it's A1, you have a chance to give them Fervor, which is 10% bonus damage dealt and 10% less damage taken. But yeah, again, this is very rare to have. This gives you so much speed as well. Potentially, you might be running it on like a turn meter booster. That's a bit faster than Donatello. It sort of depends where you're at with your speed needs for your account and how many relics you've got. But it is a very strong option for him, no doubt. And do we need to cover anything else? I think we've covered everything, right? That is crucial to know for this. Yeah, we've covered relics. We've covered this sort of stuff. What gemstones would I put in very quickly, I suppose, because I don't usually cover that in the spotlights or anything. For him, I mean, Heal and Go is pretty strong. Chance to extra turn. Necro Defense is okay. He kind of prefers not to have your team... It's sort of his weakness. He doesn't have a revive, and he kind of wants your team not to die. You just want to stay alive all the time, and if people start dying with the turtles, kind of awkward. They don't really come back. Heal and Go is good. Parting Gift is okay as well. When an ally is killed, you can decrease your skills. It's okay. Blessed Heal even is a great budget one, right? When you heal an ally, 10% more healing. Right, it's simple, but it's effective. Energy Expansion is okay as well. You start getting just more max HP. It's okay. But yeah, I say Blessed Heal is like a great option. And yeah, great budget option. That's your budget pick. It's just really good. You could put two of those in. Great, 20% more healing. Fantastic. Great, we'll take it. And there you are. I think that is everything we need to cover for Donatello. Again, you can find stuff written on hellhades.com to expand your knowledge even further. And of course, the champion pages in particular gets kept up to date whenever there are major additions to the game. He'll be rated for new types of content. If new builds come out, it will be updated there by YST and all the rest. But yeah, that's your broad Donatello build. He's very cool. There definitely will be more turtle builds and team comp variations stuff coming out as we get them on the live game, because they're super cool and they're super fun and people will want to run them together, exactly which turtles to run together, etc, etc. But Donatello is very good. I guess the one thing to end it on, because we haven't talked too much about teams, but bearing in mind for like more budget Titus teams, you could run Donatello alongside Wixwell and Titus. Cooldown reduction there is super strong. Make sure they both do their respective A2s, reset them with Shell Shocker, and go. It's not going to be the best option. You know, you'd much rather Lamasu Yumiko, but for a budget, really good this. Yeah, really, really good. Etc. So he can fit very well in certain teams. This will fit very well, of course, with trying to clear through waves. Because it's 2 turns of cooldown reduction. That's one thing to note. You'll be very good at enabling certain champs, but not others. So, for example, Marius, you can like do a Marius A3 extra turn into his A2, nuke an entire wave, get to wave 2 of whatever, Doom Tower, Dungeon, whatever it is. You can reset him with Donatello, Shell Shocker, and just bam, blow up wave 2 as well. Brilliant. You can do that sort of stuff. Not going to work as well because he's the same as Renegade. He will struggle a bit more with a couple of important champions. So Newt has a 4-turn cooldown. You reduce it by 2, it's still got 2 turns left. They take a turn, they've got still 1 turn left on the cooldown. So we can't fully reset a Newt or anyone else with a 4-turn cooldown. Newt would be a big one for dungeon speedruns. The other big one would be Seer, who's got a 4-turn cooldown and Karma Burn. So we can't fully reset those. They're a bit more awkward, but he will basically fully reset anyone with a 3-turn cooldown. Right, I think that's everything. Let me know anything I missed in the comments. I'm sure there was something. Who knows? That's Donatello. Good luck with him. And yeah, I'm looking forward to actually building him on the live game myself. And yeah, I'm probably gonna build him myself in Chronophage. I'm probably 4-piece Stone Skin, 4-piece Chronophage for me. Might be the way I go. Though I might put Chronophage on Yumiko instead. I don't know. I'm a little conflicted. It depends if I get Leonardo. I think that's what really makes or breaks it for an endgame account. You get a Leonardo to combo with these turtles for some crazy stuff. Anyway, that's it. See you next time, everyone. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.